Hello and welcome to my students class. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to solve the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, that is the WASSCE 2022. The core mathematics or the general mathematics question that was solved by the Nigerians. The Nigerians have just written their core mathematics paper, and I'm going to show you how to solve those. If you are a Ghanaian and you are preparing for your WASSCE, then there is the time for you to try your hands on these questions, and you have to watch the topics very well because it's pretty much important. For example, the question number 1, you can see that we have series and sequence here. We have a sequence question here, that is geometric progression or exponential sequence GP, and we've seen this in the elective mathematics too. And in the past years we've been seeing series and sequence, so it is very likely that you will also be seeing sequence or series and sequence in the Ghanaian core mathematics WASSCE paper. So it's pretty much important that you master all these topics. So I'm going to solve these things and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's start work, and we are going to solve the first question here. So how do we solve these questions here? And you can see on my right hand side too, I have my calculator set up, my scientific calculator here. That is the first thing that you have to do. You have to make sure that your calculator is ready for you here. So question number 1 says 1a, it says that given that 7 minus 2x, that is one term, comma 9 comma 5x plus 17 are consecutive terms of a geometric progression or GP with common ratio r, which is greater than 0. Find the values of x. Now r is greater than 0 means that r is positive. Any number that is greater than 0 means that it is a positive number. So that means that when we find the value of r, we shouldn't get any negative number. But even we are not finding r, what are we finding? We are finding the values. So you have to watch this word very well. It's a plural word, it has got s here, so that means that we must get at least 2 values of x. So we will not be getting just one. So let's look at this here. Now geometric progression has got what we call the common ratio, and you can see it here, common ratio. So let me take the two words one after the other. A ratio means division, and something that is common is something that is found anywhere or everywhere. So if you have, say, the terms u1, u2, u3, and let me say u4, and you're finding the common ratio, if you take any term, say if I take the second term here, u2, and I divide it by the first term, that is u1, that is what we call a ratio. You divide any term that you pick by the preceding term, you get the ratio, that is the small r. For example, if I also take the u3, then I have to divide it by the term preceding it, that is the u2. If I take u4, I have to also divide it by the term preceding, that is u3. Now when you find these things, you realize that you get the same answer, and because you get the same answer here, there, and there, we call it a common answer. So it's a common ratio, so that is why we call it a common ratio. So when you pick it, you get the same answer over there, and that is why we call it a common ratio. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna use this to solve this question over here. So that was a quick thing about geometric progression here. All right, so back to the question here. We're gonna solve this, and it says that, so this is my first term, this is my first term, that is my second term, and this is my third term. So I'm going to take my second term, 9, and I will divide it by my first term, that is 7 minus 2x, and this should be equal to the same as taking my third term, that is, say, 5x. So that is, this should be equal to taking my third term, 5x plus 17, and dividing it by my second term, that is 9. All right, so if I divide the third term by the second term, it is the same as dividing the second term by the first term. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want an equation in x, because I've been asked to find x, so I have to be able to develop an equation in x. And a very simple way to do that is to use the common ratio here. So the common ratio, you are not told about the common ratio for nothing. You look at what you have been given in the question, and based on that you can find what you have been asked to find. So finding this is pretty simple. Finding x means making x the subject here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do some cross multiplication here. So I'm going to multiply 9 by 9 here. I'll get 81 here, and I'll multiply 7 minus 2x. Let me put the whole thing in bracket because that is 2 times, and I'll multiply it by 5x plus 17. So this is what I have here. All right, so let me expand it. I have 81 here. and I have 7 times 5, 35. So 7 times 5x, so I have 35x. Let me use red ink here. So I have 7 5 35, so I have 35x here. So 7 times 5x, then I have 7 times 17. 7 7 is 49, so I've got 9 here. 7 1 7, so I'll get 119. So that is a positive answer. So 7 times 17 is 119 here. Then I have negative 2x times 5x, I'll get negative 10. X times x is x squared. Then negative 2x times 17, I'm going to get negative 27 is 14 to 1 2, so that's going to be negative 34, and there's x, so negative 34x. So that is what I'm going to get when I expand the whole of this. Now I have a quadratic here, so that means that I'm going to solve a quadratic equation. Of course, the question said that I am to find the value, so of course I'm going to get two values of x here, so that is correct. That makes a lot of sense here. All right, so I go on to the next thing to do here, and let me try to simplify what I have here. So I have 81 here, and I have like terms 35x here and negative 34. So when I subtract 34 from 35, these are like terms, negative 34x, then I have 35x here. So I'm gonna get, let me write the 119 first, then I'll put negative 10x squared here. Then when I simplify 35x and negative 34x, I get positive x. Okay, so because that is a quadratic, I'm going to rearrange it well so that I can go on with the next thing to do here. Well, I can decide to add 10x squared to both sides of the equation. If you don't understand what I'm saying, this is what I mean. I want to send negative 10x squared from the right hand side of the equation to the left hand side, and when I do that, I get a positive 10x squared here. I don't want negative number to start the equation, so I'll send this there, and when I send x from the right hand side to the left hand side, I get negative x here. In other words, if I subtract x from both sides of the equation, I get negative x on the left side of the equation, and then on the left side too, I have got 81 already there. Then I'll send 119 to the left, I have negative 119, which is equal to 0, so that's what I have here. All right, so that is how my equation is going to be. Okay, so I have 10x squared, I have minus x, then I have 81 minus 119. So I know I can type a little bit on my calculator here. 81 minus 119. Okay, let me see what I get. Oh, negative 38. So I can put negative 38 here equals 0. So and I have a very beautiful quadratic equation. I'm going to solve this. To do this, I have to compare this to the general quadratic function, that is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So what I have to do is to multiply the a, that is the 10. There is the coefficient of the s squared. I have to multiply 10 by negative 38. So what I have to do is to multiply 10 by negative 38, and I'm gonna get negative 380. So I have to find factors of negative 380, which when I add, I get negative x. Is that not gonna be difficult? Oh, I think that is gonna be difficult here to get negative 1. So I'm gonna use a very small trick here. I'll go back to the calculator, I'll press mode and choose the number 5, that is EQN equation, and I'll come to quadratic equation, that is the number 3 here, and the coefficient of s squared is the a, so that is 10 here. I'm going to type 10 and press on the equal sign, and the coefficient of the x is the b here, and the b here is negative 1 here, so I'm going to type negative 1 and press on the equal sign. The last one, that is the constant c, is what I see here, and that's negative 38, and I'll press on the equal sign. I'll press on it again. The first answer I have is s is equal to what? 2. Okay, so let me write down somewhere here, s is equal to 2, and I'll press on the equal sign again, and I have x is equal to negative 19 out of 10. So x is also equal to negative 19 out of 10. So I'm going to use this trick to find the factors I have to use here, because trying to find the factors is a little bit dicey or difficult for some students, but that is the trick. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'll move the 2 to the left, and here I'm going to get x minus 2 equals 0. So I'll get a factor here. Here I'll do cross multiplication first. So 10 times this, I'll have 10x equals negative 19. I'll send this there. Then I have 10x plus 19 equals 0. So what I'm doing here is that I'm just trying to find some factors, and I'll continue with what I'm doing, the work here. So I'm going to multiply these factors. In other words, I'm going to expand and see. So let me do some rough work here. It's going to be something like this. I have x minus 2 multiplying 10x plus 19. As a matter of fact, if I solve this, this is what I should get. These are the factors I have to get. So x times 10x, I get 10x squared. So I'm getting all these things back here. Then x times 19, I get positive 19x. Then I have negative 2 times 10, I have negative 20x. Now the moment I do this, I can continue, but that is what I want actually. Negative 2 times 19, what am I going to get? Negative 2, 9, 18, yeah, 38. So look at this here. We have 10x squared, we have negative 38, negative 38. So what is left in the middle here, 19 minus 20, is what gives me the negative x. So the factors of negative 380, which when I add, I get negative 1. They are 19 and negative 20. So that is what I want. I can verify it and see. Just press mode 1 and get to the normal mode. If I type 19 times negative 20, I get negative 380. And if I add 19 to negative 20, of course I get negative 1. Sorry. So that's what I'm going to write here. I'm going to write 10s squared here. So in place of here, I'm going to write here I have 19x minus 20x, but I'm going to write the minus 20x first because addition is commutative. Then I'll bring the plus 19x out here. Then I have minus 38. Okay, that is pretty simple. So let's continue from here. I used the calculator to find the factors. I didn't want to think. I don't want to think a lot. So let me try to make it a little bit simple. So I'm gonna have 10s squared minus 20x as 1. Okay, then I have plus 19 x here minus 38 as 1 equals 0. I can factorize 10. I can also factorize out x. So I'll be left with x minus 2. Of course, I saw x minus 2 somewhere here. Yeah, I should get this here. And then here too, what can I bring out here? I can bring out 19. So I can see x minus 2 also here equals 0. So I'm going to get 10x plus 19 as one factor. Of course, I talked about this. I said that I should get 10 minus 19 here as one of the factors just after using the calculator. So the next one will be x minus 2. And of course, I see x minus 2 here. So the next one, 2 is x minus 2 equal to 0. So if two numbers multiply, I get 0. What does it imply? It implies that one of the numbers is 0. All right, so that's what it means. So I can see that either the first one, that is the 10x plus 19, is 0, or the second one, that is x minus 2, is the 0. So let me continue here. Let me clean these parts and continue my work here. So if I'm saying that either this is 0 or that is 0, then I can now make x the subject and get the values of x here. That's pretty simple. So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so let me get back to work here. And from here, I'll say I'll leave 10x on the left. I'll send 19 to the right. I'll have negative 19. I'll divide through by 10. And x will be equal to, negative 19 out of 10. Or x will be equal to, for the second one, I have x minus 2, so equals 0. So that means x is equal to 2. So these are the values of x. The values of x are x is 2 or x is negative 19 out of 10. And that's what I had. These are the answers I had when I used the calculator to solve this. So the question says that I'm to find the values of x. Now, if I put the values of x into any of these, that is 5x plus 17 out of 9, I can find the r, and of course I'm going to get a positive answer because r is positive here, but I'm asked to find just the values of x. So let's get on to the 1b. Let's see how we solve the 1b. The 1b also says that two positive numbers are in the ratio 3:4. The sum of thrice the first number and twice the second is 68. Find the smaller number. Now there are at least two ways that you can solve this, and I'm going to show you The first one is a little bit lengthy, that is when you want to use two variables, and the second one is very simple, that is when you want to use one variable. I like the second one, but I'm going to show you the two. First, let me try to understand this here. Now when we say sum simply means addition. For example, if I say the sum of 3 and 4, it means 3 plus 4. All right, so this is the sum of 3 and 4, and that gives 7. If I say the sum of 5 and say 8, that means 5 plus 8, and this gives 13. If I say the sum of x and y, I mean x plus y. If I say the sum of x and y is 5, it means x plus 5 is equal to 5, as simple as that. Now when we say, let us also look at these terms that we have here, try to understand it first. When we say thrice, the word thrice simply means 3 times. All right, so when I say thrice 2, it means 3 times 2. That means thrice of 2, 3 times 2. Thrice 2 is 6, because if you have 2 3 times, thrice of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 thrice of 2, so that will be 6. Now when we say twice, twice means 2 times. For example, if I say twice of x, that means 2x, that is 2x. Twice of y, that means 2y. Twice of 4, that means 2 times the 4. All right, so twice of 4 is 8, because if you have twice of 4, you get 8. So that is how we interpret these things here. All right, so let us also understand the word ratio here. You have the word ratio. When we say ratio, it means division. So when we say when we write this, we read this as 3:4. So the ratio of 3:4, 3:4 simply means 3 on 4. That is 3 divided by 4. So that is what is the what the word ratio means. So now we are ready to solve the question. All right, so it says that two positive numbers are in the ratio 3:4. So I don't know the numbers. So if I want to use two variables, this is what I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to write is let the numbers. So let me try to divide this into 2 so that I can utilize my sheet a little bit well. Let the numbers be x and y. I don't know the numbers, so let them be x and y. So it says that two positive numbers are in the ratio 3:4. So if the numbers are x and y, then that means that the number x is to y is equal to 3:4, because the numbers are in this ratio. At the moment you write this, ratio means division, so this can be interpreted as x over y equals 3 on 4. So that is it. So I've gotten one equation in terms of x and y. All right, so the first statement here, I've had this here. Now I'm going on to the next one. And what does the next one say? The next one also says that the sum of thrice the first number. So my first number is the x, my second is the y. So the sum, plus the sum of the sum of thrice the first number. So what is the first number? The first number is x, and thrice x is 3x. So the sum of thrice the first number and twice, so twice the second number 2 is y, twice y. The sum of thrice the first and twice the second is equal to 68. So I've got two equations, and find the smaller number. So I'm to find x and y and determine which of them, that is the x and y, is the smaller of the two. So that's what I'm going to do here. So let me name my equations. I'm going to call this equation 1, and I'm going to call this equation 2. All right, so that is just simultaneous equations. I'm going to solve this by the method of substitution. So I'll say from equation 1, so I'll make x the subject. Let me say make x the subject, make x the subject, okay, in equation 1. So equation 1 says that I have x on y equals 3 and 4. So I'm going to make x the subject here, and I'm going to multiply the y by this term on the right. So I have x. So what I'm doing is that I'm doing half cross multiplication. I have s to be equal to 3 on 4 times the y. I will not multiply this by x because I want x to stand alone, because I want to make x the subject. So I'm doing half cross multiplication here, and let me call this equation 3. All right, so let me give another name to this equation 3. So I'm going to say put equation 3 into the second equation, that is equation 2. And then the second one says that 3x plus 2y equals 68. So it means that where I see x, I'm going to write this, that is 3 on 4y. That's what I'm going to do here. So let me get here, and I'm going to continue from here. So I'm going to write 3, and I have x here, but I'm going to write 3 on 4y here. For the x, I'm going to write 3 on 4y, okay, plus 2y, okay, equals 68. So let me multiply this. I have 3 times 3, 9 on 4y plus 2y equals 68. All right, I can choose to multiply through by the LCM here, that's 4, or I can find it here and do cross multiplication. Either way, you are correct. So that is what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to multiply through by the LCM here. So let me do it that way. So the first one here times 4, I'm going to have this times 4. So let me write here. I have 4 times 9 on 4y. That is the first one. And I have 4 times 2y here. Then I also have 4 times 68 here. All right. So 4 is going to cancel 4 out here. I'm going to get 9y here. 4 2 is 8y. And then 4 times 68, let me do some calculations here. So 4 times 68, okay, and I have 272, that is 272 here, and 9 plus 8, I'm going to get 17y equals 272 here. So I'm finding y. Let me put it down here again. 272, I divide both sides by 17 to get the value of y. So I have the answer here already, so I'm just going to type divided by 17 and I'll press on the equal sign, and I have 16 here. So the value of y is 16. Oh, that is beautiful. So let me check that of S2 and C. So y equals 16. Okay, so if y is 16, then I know x. So I will say that puts y equals 16 into equation, equation 3 here. I made x the subject here, remember? So into equation 3. So equation 3 says that x is equal to 3 on 4 y. So this will be equal to 3 on 4, and the y here is 16. So what do I have here? See, 4 here 1 and 4 here 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. So the value of x is 12 and the value of y is 16. So 16 and 12, which of the two is smaller? That's what a question asked. It said that find a smaller number. So therefore, all right, so I've exhausted my sheet. Therefore the smaller number is 12. The smaller number is 12. All right, so that is that. So the correct answer is 12. That is the smaller number here. All right, so you can solve it this way if you want to use two variables. That is going to be a little bit lengthy, but you can use only one variable to also solve it here, and I'm going to try that one too. All right, so we want to look at the second way that we can solve this. It says that two positive numbers are in a ratio 3:4. Now, if you understand the word ratio, then you have no problem in it. There is no need to use two variables. Now, when we say they are in the ratio of 3:4, because ratio means division, it means that they have been simplified to their let me say barest minimum number. That is their factors, that is their numbers that we cannot divide anymore. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is that something has been factorized out or has been cancelled out here. For example, if I give you this something like the ratio of 10:20, this can be simplified further, because 10:20 means 10 on 20, and 10 on 20, 0 will cancel to 0, or 10 will go into 10 1, and 10 into 20 2. So you have 1/2. So that is to say that 10:20 is equivalent to 1:2. in the same vein, if I write the ratio of say 5 is to say 20, 5 can go into 5 1, and 5 can go into 24 times. So 5 is to 20 is the same as 1 is to 4. So what is the common factor here? What is the common factor here? How can I get this back? Unless of course I multiply each side by 5. So 1 times 5 I get 5, and 4 times 5 I get 20. So you can see 5 here and 5 there. In the same vein here too, how can I get a common factor to multiply 1 is to 2 so that I get 10 is to 20 back? 1 times 10 I get 10, and 2 times 10 I get 20. So the common factor here is 10 10. So when you are told that the ratio of something is this and that, or this is to that, then it means that there is a common factor there. So that is the idea that we are going to use to solve this. There is no need to introduce another variable or to use two variables. We are going to use only a variable. So that's what we're going to do here. All right, so we start by saying the ratio is 3:4. So we say there will be a common factor. So we see that let me divide this into 2 as usual. I'll say let the common factor be x. So here I'm using only one variable. Let a common factor be x. Now if I'm told that the ratio of these two positive numbers is 3:4, then that means a common factor has been cancelled out. So that means I have 3x and 4x. So these are the numbers. The correct or the real numbers are 3x and 4x, but x has been cancelled out. So I'm going to find this x here because I'm asked to find the smaller number here, whether it is 3x or 4x. But if you look at it, x is constant here, so the smaller number here, you can guess it right. 3x is the smaller number because s is constant here. So if I can find the value of x, then 3x is the smaller number, and that's very simple. So that's how I do it. So two positive numbers are in the ratio 3:4. So this first statement gives me 3x is to 4x because the ratio 3:4 means that a factor has been cancelled out. And I'll go on to the second one. So you can see here I'm using only x, no x and y. The sum of thrice the first. So that is my first number. So the sum of thrice, so 3 times the first number. So 3 times the first number is 3x. Okay. The sum of thrice the first number, and twice, so I'm going to use the second number too, and twice the second number. So the second number 2 is 4x. The sum gives me what? The sum is 68. Okay, so that is as simple as that. Let me expand this. 3 times 3, I have 9x here. 3 times 3x, 9x. 2 times 4x, I have 8x equals 68. So 9x plus 8x, that is 17x equals 68. So 17x equal to 68. I'll divide both sides by 17 here. 17 will go into 17 that way. So let me check it here too. 68 divided by 17, and what do I have? Oh, that is 4. Okay, I get 4 here. Don't worry, we are on course here. So x is equal to 4, but that is not what I'm finding. I'm not finding x, I'm finding the smaller number. So these are the numbers here. Initially I said the numbers were 3x, that is the first number, and the second one is 4x. And because I have x to be constant here, the smaller number is the 3x. So that means first number, the first one, which is the 3x, is going to be 3x. The x is 4, so 3 times 4, and that is 12. So the second number is going to be 4x, which is 4 times 4, which is 16. So you can see that the smaller number is the first one, as I did say, 12. So that is a very simple way to solve it. If you want to use only one variable, I think that is pretty easy than using two variables, because with the two you have to solve simultaneous equations in two variables, all right, and you're getting the same answer here.